two small nations, one vast ocean. In the 17th century, England and the Dutch Republic locked horns in a struggle that would decide who ruled the seas. This wasn't just trade, it was about empire, survival, and global dominance. Explosive naval battles, brilliant admirals, and one showdown at Texel that would alter the course of history forever. Ready for a naval war like no other? Let's set sail. Welcome to Flags Firestorms. Today, we're diving into the Anglo-Dutch Wars, a brutal series of naval conflicts fought between 1652 and 1674. England and the Netherlands, two rising powers, clashed again and again across the high seas, each determined to command the world's trade routes. From the thunder of broadside cannons to daring raids that shook empires, this is the story of ambition, betrayal, and the quest for naval supremacy. And at the heart of it all, the dramatic Battle of Texel, where the fate of nations hung in the balance. Part 1. The stakes. The mid-17th century was an age of sails, cannons, and commerce, and whoever ruled the seas ruled the world. In England, first under Oliver Cromwell and later Charles II, ambition burned hot. The English wanted to dominate global trade, from the spices of the East Indies to the sugar of the Caribbean. But one nation stood in their way: the Dutch Republic. The Dutch weren't just another rival, they were the masters of commerce, with a merchant fleet larger than all of Europe's combined, and the mighty Dutch East India Company, the richest corporation the world had ever seen. Dutch ships carried goods across every ocean, and with that trade came immense power. England couldn't compete, unless they changed the rules. And so came the Navigation Acts, laws designed to cripple Dutch shipping and force trade into English hands. To the Dutch, it was nothing less than economic warfare. Tensions boiled over in 1652. Cannons roared, sails snapped in the wind, and the First Anglo-Dutch War began. At stake wasn't just pride or honor, it was global supremacy. Control of the seas meant control of wealth, colonies, and the future. For England and the Dutch, there was only room for one naval superpower. Part 2. The Naval Revolution. The Anglo-Dutch Wars weren't fought with armies on land. They were decided on the open sea, where fleets of massive wooden warships clashed in thunderous duels of cannon fire. This was the age of the ship of the line, floating fortresses bristling with dozens of heavy guns. Battles weren't wild melees anymore. This was the era of the line of battle. Warships formed disciplined lines, trading broadsides in devastating volleys that could shatter hulls, splinter decks, and decide the fate of nations. But behind the cannons stood the commanders who gave these fleets their bite. On the Dutch side rose Michiel de Ruyter, a sailor turned legend. Brilliant, daring, and unshakably calm under fire, de Ruyter mastered the art of maneuver, using the agility of the Dutch fleet to outthink and outfight his enemies. Facing him was England's own titan of the seas, Ruyter Blake, a relentless commander and one of the founders of the modern Royal Navy. Blake pushed discipline and innovation to new levels, transforming England's fleet into a professional, battle-ready force. When these men clashed, the seas erupted into chaos. Fleets twisted and turned as admirals tried to outflank one another, gun ports opened, cannonballs screamed through rigging, and boarding parties fought hand-to-hand in brutal close-quarters combat. This wasn't just naval warfare, it was a revolution at sea. The lessons learned here would shape how fleets fought for centuries to come. Part 3. The Battle of Texel. By the summer of 1673, the Dutch Republic stood on the brink. England and France had joined forces in the Third Anglo-Dutch War, aiming to crush the Dutch fleet once and for all, and clear the way for an invasion. The fate of the Netherlands, its trade, its independence, its very survival, rested on the shoulders of one man, Michiel de Ruyter. On August 11, 1673, off the coast of Texel, de Ruyter faced a combined Anglo-French armada. Outnumbered, outgunned, and hemmed in by the threat of invasion, he had no choice but to fight. The battle began in a fury of cannon fire. Broadsides thundered as towering warships unleashed their guns, filling the air with smoke and splinters. But de Ruyter wasn't here to simply trade blows. He was here to outthink his enemies. With daring precision, he maneuvered his fleet straight into the heart of the Anglo-French line, breaking it apart and isolating enemy squadrons from one another. Instead of being crushed by superior numbers, the Dutch turned the chaos to their advantage. Ship by ship, they fought with discipline and ferocity, hammering the Allies into retreat. The fighting was brutal. Warships collided, masts toppled, and decks ran slick with blood. Yet through the smoke and fire, de Ruyter's cool leadership held firm. By day's end, the Anglo-French fleet was forced to withdraw. The Battle of Texel was more than a Dutch victory. It was salvation. De Ruyter had saved his nation from invasion and preserved Dutch independence at its darkest hour. His tactical brilliance ensured that, for all of England and France's might, the Republic would endure. Part 4. The Legacy. The Battle of Texel was more than a Dutch victory. It was a turning point. Against overwhelming odds, the Republic had preserved its freedom, its trade routes, and its empire. The Dutch would remain the masters of commerce for decades to come, their fleets carrying the wealth of the world across every ocean. For England, the wars were bitter but instructive. Defeat and frustration forced them to confront weaknesses, reform their navy, and invest in shipbuilding, discipline, and strategy. The hard lessons learned in battle laid the foundation for the Royal Navy's rise to global supremacy in the centuries to follow. The wars officially ended with the Treaty of Westminster in 1674, restoring peace between the two nations. But peace did not end the rivalry. Instead, it transformed it. The Anglo-Dutch Wars had sparked a naval revolution, pushing both sides to adopt professional fleets, standardized tactics, and a focus on maritime dominance as the key to power. Their clashes reshaped not just Europe, but the world. Global trade, colonial empires, and the balance of power on the seas were forever altered. From the Caribbean to the East Indies, the echoes of cannon fire at Texel and elsewhere reverberated, shaping the destiny of modern empires. The Anglo-Dutch Wars proved one thing above all. In the age of sail, control of the seas meant control of history. Conclusion. The Anglo-Dutch Wars were more than a clash of cannons and sails. They were a struggle for the very future of global power. From the daring brilliance of Michiel de Ruyter to the relentless drive of Robert Blake, these wars forged the foundations of modern navies and reshaped the world's trade and empires. But here's the question. Which naval commander do you think was the greatest? Was it de Ruyter, Blake, or someone else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this dive into history, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic battles and untold stories from the past. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss our next adventure. Until then, fair winds, steady hands, and we'll see you on the high seas.